Hey everyone, today I'm going to make a video talking about the Magpul speed plates for Glock magazines. Currently they're only available for 9mm and 40 caliber Glock magazines, but let you know what I think about them, some of the features that they have, some of the things they allow you to do, and whether or not I think you should pick these up yourself. So I've had these attached to these magazines for close to a year now, and then I've actively been carrying one of these as my spare magazine in my back pocket for probably around 8 months now with one of these attached. So I've gotten a lot of use out of these, and then every single pistol class that I've taken my Glock 19 through, I've used these as my backup mags, and then even the carbine classes that I've taken where I use my Glock 19, I use these. So these have definitely seen a lot of use, and they seem to be holding up pretty well. As you can see, it's got a very rubberized, malleable ring up here, so this is going to take impacts very well without breaking. But as I'll show you on this one, which again is the one that I carry my as my backup magazine, the actual ring itself has started to separate from the base plate. Now, the part that actually retains onto the magazine is a harder plastic underneath this, so there's no risk of the plate itself being compromised and making this magazine unusable. But I will say that if I were to yank on this a little too hard, I might be worried of this actually separating. And if you look at these other magazines, you can see that there is a little bit of a seam around where this ring attaches, so that seems like it would be the structural weak point, which I never really paid attention to until today. Actually, my girlfriend pointed out to me, she saw this sticking out of my back pocket detached and asked me what was going on, and that was the first time I'd ever noticed it. But as you can see, that seam is exactly where this thing has begun to separate. So, granted, this being in my back pocket, this has seen a lot more wear than you would normally get, especially when I sit down. It's going to be constantly putting this under some sort of torque, and that has probably accelerated the wear on that seam. I'm fairly disappointed that this is an issue. I know Magpul stuff is made really, really well. I'm a huge fan of Magpul products. Pretty much all of my AR mags are P mags. A bunch of my AK mags are their new P mags, and once they come out with the steel reinforced mags, I plan on pretty much exclusively buying those if those work. And all my furniture on my shotgun is the Magpul furniture, so I'm a huge fan of Magpul, so I'm pretty surprised to see that kind of thing happening on these. But as far as the actual features go, they do allow you to do some things that you might not normally be able to do with your standard magazine. And just to demonstrate, I'll go ahead and pull the one out of my carry gun, and you can see most of you are going to be familiar with the way that the standard Glock floor plate looks. And pretty much you just remove this, which in all honesty is a big pain, and then you replace it, you just slide on, kind of like the Ranger plates or anything like that on the AR mags. It slides on and that detent locks in. And what this allows you to do is, at least for me, one of the reasons that I do have this on my backup magazine in my pocket is when I have this sticking up in my pocket, it just gives me something else to grab onto, and it allows me to grab onto it in a way where I can immediately load it into my firearm if I need to. I don't have to rearrange my grip. If this is all I get a grip on, then it'll still work. Or if your magazine is seated and for whatever reason you got dirt and grime in your magazine well and these don't want to drop free, this gives you a really positive way of grabbing onto that magazine and ripping it out. So if you're dealing with even like a double feed or anything like that, it just gives you a lot of really good leverage on that magazine. Now you'll notice when I typically when I'm going through a class and I want to do everything light, I use these Black Hawk magazine pouches just for double stack 9mm mags, and it doesn't impede the function on these. Usually I do rounds forward on my left side, and you can still get a very clean grip on these. You don't have to worry about this getting in the way at all. And then even if I'm using my battle belt and I use my taco pouches, this doesn't get in the way at all. If anything, it just gives you a little bit more of a sure grab. If you're just reaching down trying to grab something having something a little bit bigger to grab onto, or if you're pulling this out of a pouch where you don't have a lot exposed, this will really help give you a really positive grip when you remove it from your pouches to insert them into your firearm. Now, there's a lot to be said for the people who are of the opinion that there's no reason to alter your magazines. I can definitely see where that argument comes from, and I do agree to it to some extent. I mostly just wanted to try these out, and I found that it does make using these magazines a little bit nicer. And again, and to mention, my phone case is also Magpul. So as you can see, as a big Magpul fanboy, I wanted to try these out. I will say, for the people that have tried using these, usually when I go to a class, people notice these, ask what I think about them, so I let them try them out, and I always get positive feedback about it. And one more thing is, when I go to classes, Glock 19s or just 9mm Glocks in general are really popular in those classes, so this just gives me a good way of differentiating my magazines. I mean, typically I'll take a paint pen and put my initials on the base of the magazine, but this just gives me a really quick way of identifying which ones are mine, considering most people do not have these on their Glocks. Now, these do add some versatility as well if you're doing something like a tactical reload, depending on how you like to do that. Typically, the way I do it is I grip my backup magazine like this, and then I use my thumb and forefinger to pull the magazine out that was in the gun, and then insert the new magazine from those fingers. And what this allows you to do is hold on to it like this, which makes it so if you still want to use your support hand while carrying your spare magazine, you can do that and still get a full grip, firing grip on your handgun. I don't, if that's something that you've trained to do and you enjoy doing that, then more power to you. For me, considering I haven't really trained to do it that way, that's not exactly something I'd be, jumping to do in a real world scenario, but that option is there if you choose to use it. I mean, realistically, the only thing that limits what you can use these for is your imagination. There's just a lot of options. There's a lot of different things that you can do by adding these that you don't get with a standard speed plate. And for those of you wondering, as I said earlier, it works on the 9 and 40 caliber Glock magazines. As you can see here, this is a magazine for a Glock 21. If you look at the dimensions of the floor plate, if I just use this one, you can tell that it is very different, so they will not work on the 45 magazines. It is exclusive to the 9 and 40. Now, I know Glock announced this year that they're going to start making Glock 17 magazines, so I only foresee them expanding that lineup in the future. So if they do go into the other magazines, especially the 45, I do see them coming out with more accessories specifically for those for those Magpul magazines, like you see on the P-Mags with the Ranger plates. So I think at some point we're going to be spoiled for choice as far as the accessories that we can put on Glock magazines. Now, I don't know because I haven't tried, but on the 33 round Glock factory magazines, you could probably get those on, but just understanding that this +2 base plate will no longer work. You can't have both, so I don't see a whole lot of need to put one on the 33 round magazines, but if you choose to do so, you might be able to. But overall, I've been really pleased with the performance of these things. As I said, I've used these in I don't know how many classes, used these on I don't know how many outings, put a lot of rounds through magazines with this. It doesn't affect functionality at all. I've had 100% reliable operation with these installed on these magazines, and then I also have ones, obviously, not that one, with the regular floor plates, and it operates just the same as those. Now, I am disappointed that this one has started to break off back here, but considering it's seen daily use for about 8 months now, everything is going to break eventually. So, and considering these things, I believe they're about $15 for a pack of 3. That's a pretty good lifespan, I think, and considering it's not going to be too expensive to replace that. So I think if you're looking for a way to enhance your Glock magazines for whatever reason, this might not be a bad way to go. Even if you just want to try it out, again, it's not that expensive. So, worst case scenario, you spent $15, and at least you have a talking point when you go to the range and other people see your magazines like that. So I have no problem recommending these to you guys if you really want to try something new on your Glock magazines. Yeah, I think this could be a really good addition. Again, perfect reliability with these so far. If it changes in the future, I'll definitely let you guys know. And again, that's one reason I wanted to show you this one, just to show that, you know, this does have a tendency to break. So you might want to inspect it after, you know, whenever you're cleaning your firearms or whatever else. It's good to get in the practice of inspecting your equipment. So just keep an eye on that. And again, if this rips off, this base plate will still work as a base plate. It will still keep, you know, your spring and all your ammo loaded in the magazine, so you don't have to worry about your magazine just totally falling apart on you. So if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave those in the comment section below. Definitely want to hear what you guys think. If you think these are absolutely stupid, you know, feel free to throw that in there. If you really like these things, you know, again, go ahead and put that in the comments as well. But I hope you got something from this video, and I appreciate you watching.